being uncomfortable probably is what gets you the best results in life. And I had this really comfortable life. And then when that was kind of blown up when he passed away at the age of 62, I got this amazing opportunity. And I, kind of tried to get rid of the fears and the apprehension, and I did it. And we were strangers when we walked into that house. We immediately bonded because we had this commonality that we lived in this world of couples as singles. Not all of my kids were big fans of me going on the show. And I said, "You guys are young and you don't understand how your lives are going to evolve. I don't feel like I'm the grandmother that my mom was. And I feel like most of my friends aren't either. So I love that, like that we're kind of the trailblazers. I feel like I have, hopefully 30 years left that I thought I had a second chance at love and a second life possibly to live. You can't see as well and your hip hurts after you've walked, but you get this weird confidence that you just don't care. Get that milkshake from McDonald's, that strawberry milkshake that you keep denying yourself. Just do something that makes you happy every day.
Joan, thank you so much for joining us today. It is wonderful to meet you, and we can't wait to just get to know you a little bit more and hear about who you are and what you do, how you live well and age better. So for anyone that doesn't know you, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself? Who is Joan? And what do you fill your time with these days?
Wow, I've kind of evolved a lot in the last year. So, like my current, who is Joan, is I'm a grandmother of three. And I start with that because that's my favorite title right now. They call me JoJo, and I love being a grandmother. One is 5, and then I have two that are under the age of 2. So, they keep me busy. So I fill my free time a lot with visiting with them or playing with them. They Two of them are at my house right now. In fact, downstairs we just baked cookies. I'm still a daughter. I have a 92-year-old mother. And that is one of my other favorite things to do. She's my best friend. She's my biggest cheerleader, and she's one of my favorite people to be around. She's sharp as a tack still. She reads the Washington Post from cover to cover, knows more than I do about everything in the world, and I love being around her. And I'm still a mother of 4, and I get to be a fiance now. So at this stage of my life, got a second chance at love, and I found it, as you know, on the Golden Bachelorette.
So good. And I love Grandma Jojo.
Yep,
It's
I love it.
it's so fun.
Mm.
It's so fun to hear that. What would you say is your current vision to live well and age better?
I would say that most of my kind of philosophy about life, I kind of have two, and one is about connections. So I was a wife and a mother and all these things, and my connections were my family, and then they grew from there. So my kids all played sports, and they were in school, and so I had a big community of their friends' parents, and that was huge when they were growing up. And that kind of dwindles as you get older, and some of those close friendships remain, and so. I'm all about, to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. So I'm all about my connections. I connect with my friends all the time. I send text messages, I call, I make plans with them. They do the same thing with me. So I have a big friend community. And the other thing is, I have this philosophy that fortune favors the bold. And I've never been a particularly bold person. I lived in kind of a really comfortable time. I had a husband who did well, and we raised our kids together, and I had this really comfortable life. And then when that was kind of blown up when he passed away, I kind of took a different philosophy on for life because I felt like I could live it small and probably be very happy doing that. But I would be, a mom and a grandmother, and I would have my friends, and I would kind of live in this little world that I have existed in a long time for a long time. Or I could do something really bold and kind of shake up my life and see what that got me. And I did that. And it's just, given me so many new things that I'm having such a great time with. At the age of 62, I got this amazing opportunity, and I, kind of tried to get rid of the fears and the apprehension, and I did it, and it ended up being something really good. So I kind of say yes to everything now, because it works so well there. And so far, it's like, it's kind of led me to some really good things.
You say you weren't bold before, but just looking at your background, you were a pioneer in studying computer science, it seems like.
You're right. But that was more of not being bold, of being a real nerd, to be honest with you. I was a kind of a math girl, and I was very shy. And so I felt very comfortable in front of the computer, and I just happened to be good at it. And I loved it, but it was actually very kind of a very solitary thing to do. Computer writing code is a solitary thing anyway. And being one of the only women, first of all, in college, there were very, very, very few computer science majors that were women. So I was very alone in that. And then even in the working world, I worked for a big company. I worked for AT&T for a bunch of years when I came out of college and when I first was married before I had kids. And it's kind of lonely. So it was more about being solitary, but you're right, it was very different. So when I was a woman, I applied for a job, I would come in and um, the men weren't particularly happy to see me, to be honest. But I worked for a big company, or I eventually got a job for a big company who I think maybe had some DEI effort going and needed women or needed yeah, probably women were really the minority at that point because there was a huge Asian population doing it. We had a lot of Indians, a lot of people that had kind of gotten into, I think those countries had kind of pioneered being in the computer field and that really tech stuff before it came to the United States. So we were a little behind. So there were a lot of people in that field. I was one of the few American women that did it.
Pioneering, really. So there's some part of you that's always been there and been bold, I would think, you know.
I love that. You're giving me a lot of credit, but thank you. It was more about being a nerd, but thank you. I'll take the bold one instead.
I love what you were saying about connection being so important to you as well. And it's actually, we have at Movement Living 3 pillars of wellness: movement, which we also include rest and sleep in there, food and nutrition, how we nourish our bodies. And then the third entire pillar is called connection. And it's exactly that. It's just your relationships, your connection to yourself as well. And it's so important in wellness. And I think it doesn't get enough credit or enough space in the wellness industry. We're really focused on what we're eating, the supplements we're taking, how we're moving our bodies, which of course are all really important, but our relationships are
Yeah.
also so important. So I love that that was your immediate response.
Yeah, well, for me, kind of those are a little connected. So when it comes to connections for me, like I probably don't love to exercise, but I love to go on a walk with a friend, and I love going out to dinner with a friend. So we try to pick healthier restaurants, we try to pick healthier food, but all of that is connection related. Like I love doing those things. If I was to sit at home and probably eat, I'd probably have a bowl of cereal, so something not maybe particularly healthy. But if I go out with a friend, I'll get like a salad with salmon on it or something, so something a little healthier. So like those connections are the key to the other two things for me, really.
Sounds like you've been doing more on the movement side, active side, pickleball, working out, things like that. How's that different now in your 60s than it was before?
Very different. That's a really good question because before I did it, like when my kids were little and when I had a lot of responsibilities, when I didn't have a lot of free time, I would, get up at, 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, run to the gym, get home in time to get the kids ready for school. I don't have to do that anymore. So I get to like kind of pick and choose to do the things that I like to do instead of the things that I have to do to stay fit. So now I get up in the morning and I usually do a YouTube video of arms or abs or legs or something like that because I can do it right here in my house. And, I don't have to worry about like being on time for a lot of things. I can get up at 7 instead of at 5. And then I do things, like I said, I'll go on a 4 mile white walk with a friend of mine and with their dogs, or I'll play pickleball with some girls or girls and guys. So I do the things that I like to do because I have more time and I'm not fitting my workout isn't taking a backseat to everything else in life, which it did many, many years ago. It's now I can prioritize it. I can do it when I want to and with who I want to do it with.
And how do you deal with the inevitable, aches and pains that come with having an older body, but still being very, very active and getting
Yeah,
stronger every day?
that is so true because I do certain things. When I talk about this for my walks, I usually come home and my hip hurts that night. Like I'll have a weird, like it's my right hip that always hurts. And you know what? I've gotten to be really lucky. So a lot of people send me stuff like products. And I recently, or not even recently, several months ago, I got Asper was sent to me and I was like, well, I'll try this. And my hip hurt that night. And they sent me a bunch of different products, but one of them was those patches that you put on your hip, like you can put on wherever it aches. And I put it on and I had it next to my bed. I had a bottle of Advil next to my bed in case it didn't work. And I woke up the next morning, I'm like, well, this stuff actually works. So I use Asper cream. I actually even did a endorsement with them recently because it is a product I really, really use. But that's kind of inevitable. And I think that you kind of just have to face that you're not the same thing that you used to be. You're not the same. So I'm maybe a little more careful about the things I do. I'm not going to play 5 games of pickle because my elbow's going to hurt. I know that. When I was younger, I could have worked out all day and would have been fine. So I'm just more conscious about what I do. I don't go as hard. Those 4 mile walks, I know I'm going to pay that night. But it's worth it. Like I said, once again, it's about the connections. And nothing's bad enough that I can't, sleep at night.
That's really great that you found a product that you believe in and you love. And, I've got a
Mhm.
few of those in my life. And I think that's really helpful to us as we get older to
Yeah.
be able to stay active, and go into the future just as strong as we were.
I know, and not saying no to stuff. Like that was been my thing. Don't say no to anything. And so knowing that at the end of the day, you have something that you can, apply or, something you can do to make you feel better is like, then it gives you the freedom to do what you want to do.
I'm assuming that what makes it such a good product is that it's topical within a certain area as opposed to just
Yes.
everything.
I know. And I love that whole aspect of that particular product. You don't put it in your body, you put it on where it's actually hurting. And it has lidocaine in it, so it helps immediately.
Yeah, that's great. Good for you that you found something you can,
I know.
believe in.
And I give it to everybody. So my mom comes over, like I told you, she's 92. She has arthritis in one finger and her knees always hurt her. She now has it. My mother-in-law has carpal tunnel. I give it to her. Everybody in the whole family gets Asper cream when they come over.
What's most important to you in your fitness routine right now? Do you have any goals or priorities that you are working on?
Probably 2 things. The first thing is arm strength. So I have these grandchildren who always want to be held, and I'm taking them to the park, and they're on jungle gyms, and I'm lifting them up. I went to this thing called Hyper Kids yesterday, and I crawled through tunnels with my grandson. I want to keep being able to do that, and so I think arm strength is really important. So I always do an arm workout pretty much every morning, and then I do an ab workout because I still want to look good in my clothes. I mean, maybe that sounds vain, but it's important to me to, still be able to wear my cute jeans and, wear good looking outfits and put a bathing suit on at the beach. So I do ab workouts a lot.
And core strength is also so important for the
Facts.
lifting and the
Mhm.
stabilizing and everything, it all
True.
works together. So that makes so much sense. And Gabriela, I know you are always wanting to be able to lift my older daughter. She's 35 pounds. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like,
Woo!
you know,
Well, I was so proud of myself when they run to me, where she ran to me the other day, and I could scoop her up in one arm, and the other arm was carrying whatever bag I had. And I just
Good.
right on. And it's such a motivator.
It really is. I mean, your grandchildren really are motivators. You don't want to not be able to do things with them. So you're so right. And that's pretty impressive. I'm not sure I could do that.
You can get stronger as you get older. That's one of the things that we are
Yeah.
telling people, telling women, actually.
Yeah, and kind of our grandkids actually help that, even if they're just not just a motivator, they're heavy. So every time you pick them up, you're doing a little workout. Like, I
You
mean,
really
running after Boomer in that hyper kid zone yesterday, I was exhausted by the end of the day. He really wore me out.
there are many women in our community who are probably in the situation that maybe you were in previously, where you felt like you were ready to find love,
Mhm.
but you weren't really sure where to start or even what the next steps to take were. And I mean, barring applying for the Golden Bachelor, do you have any advice for those women? Like I heard you say, um, hope isn't enough, you have to take action. Can you talk a little bit about that, and give a little bit of encouragement?
That is so true. Hope is not a plan, and I tried it and it doesn't work. I hope that somebody would introduce me to like that great guy that lives down the street, or the great guy that your husband worked with or you work with. I hoped that I would meet somebody at a wedding, organically, at a restaurant in some way. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen for anybody I know, or very few people. And so you have to take action. And taking action, that first step is really, really the hardest. And it's either, and I think It can come in a lot of different ways. Probably the most obvious way is an app. So do Match.com or, Senior Singles or whatever seems right for you. People do JDate, the Jewish dating, whatever feels comfortable for you or is targeting the community that you feel like you're a part of. And then you actually have to talk to people. You have to go out on dates, and you might go out on 10 dates and only one is good, or you might go out on 100 dates and only one is good, but you're never going to find somebody if you don't try. And then if you're not comfortable with the apps, and some people aren't, that feels awkward and very foreign to our generation, uh, join a club, do something different. Don't keep going to the same church that you're already going to, the same restaurants you keep going to. Go like join a wine club or volunteer at like a food bank or whatever is your passion or will make you feel good, but get you out there in the community with people that like to do the same things that you like to do. So if you'd like to sample wine or taste wine, there's like right down the street from me, there's a wine bar that has an event every like 2 weeks, and they introduce a new wine. And if you're part of the thing, you get an invitation to it. So go do that. And that place is always packed. And I know for years I volunteered at Catholic Charities. My mom grew up in an orphanage, and I always felt like I wanted to do something and give back. So I would go and would serve the homeless every Wednesday night down in DC. And I met so many people. At the time, I wasn't looking for somebody. I still had John, but I met so many people doing that. So there are places you can go that can put you out there, that's not like necessarily in the community that you particularly feel comfortable in. So I think a lot of this is about feeling uncomfortable and making sure that you do it. If you have a friend, if you have a single friend, bring a single friend along. Otherwise, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable by yourself, but you're never going to get there unless you do that thing that is bold and uncomfortable for you. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results.
That's such fantastic advice I think applicable for anyone at any age, really.
Yeah, I think so too. It's hard, it's uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable probably is what gets you the best results in life. And if you haven't figured that out now, start trying it, because I didn't do it a lot when I was younger. I was always very, very afraid to go out and public speak or do like to be the center of attention. And then I got on this show, and I had to do that on the Golden Bachelor. I had to do the talent show, and I was terrified. And it's the thing that launched me to where I am today. I got a date with Gary. I had to leave the next day. It was sad. It was hard for both of us. If I hadn't gotten up there, I tried to figure out how to get out of it when I was on the show. I thought, I'm going to fake an illness. I'm just going to say I can't do it. I'm sick or whatever. And I was like, nope, you got to do it. And I got up and did it. And it's kind of helped me overcome a lot of other fears. Now I'm not nervous talking. I did that runway modeling thing a few weeks ago. I was on the Jimmy Kimmel show. I've done things that would have terrified me for. I would have, there's no way I would have said yes to any of these things. And now I say yes to everything, and I'm not even nervous. So getting over the hump of doing things that make you uncomfortable is the best thing you can do. Like, do it early, do it as soon as you can. I waited too long. I probably missed out on stuff, but now that I do it, it's served me so well.
Phenomenally, inspirational, I have to say. Because I'm very shy too, in that way. I'm not one-on-one, but just what you're describing,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you. Wow.
terrified me. Yeah.
But Joan is saying that you can do it.
Yeah, no, I know.
You have to do it.
No, I'm
And so
listening.
what do you have to lose? Like, I kept it, I'm saying, what do you have to lose? If it's awful, you walk away. Or if it's great, you found something else. And every time I did something that really scared me, I grew and I became less scared of everything else.
Well, that's part of getting older that gives you that I don't care and I'm more confident at the same time. It's like
True.
it's not so big a deal and it helps. Even me, I'm going, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling more free. And
Yeah.
how do does that, as you get older, is that one of the compensations?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you can't see as well and your hip hurts after you've walked, but you get this weird confidence that you just don't care. I would have never in a million years gone and sat by myself at a restaurant like 10 years ago. Now I could do it any day. I can walk into a room of people I don't know. I can stand on a stage and give it a speech in front of 1,000 people. Like there's things that I could have never done. But the more that I do that scares me, the less scared I get going forward.
I read a quote recently. I don't know if it's actually true, but it was saying that we our default as humans is that we want to be not happy, we want to be comfortable.
Yeah,
And
so
and
true.
that actually prevents us a lot of the time from being truly happy. So if you think about it that way, it's like actually my default desire for comfortability is my biggest
Yeah.
stumbling block to happiness.
And that is so true. God, I'm glad you're so smart you read that. I never knew that. I had to kind of discover it on my own that the more uncomfortable I felt, the happier I was. So that was and it's just moments that you're uncomfortable and the happiness lasts so much longer. So allow yourself or force yourself into that uncomfortable. I remember years ago, my son was going to a new school. It was an all boys private school, and I wanted to volunteer for something. So I went to the big volunteer meeting in the beginning of the year, and I parked my car and I saw all these beautiful women walking in to the school. And I called my friend, I go, I can't go in. And she's like, "Why not? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I just can't go in. Everybody's so beautiful, and they've all been here for like 5 years, and my kid's starting late, and I just can't go. I just can't go in." And she like forced me to go in. I made some of the best friends of my life that like at that particular meeting that like just got me in and got me volunteering. And I'm going out with one of those friends tonight, in fact. And that was my son is 33 now, and he was 14.
That's a great story, and it touches back on what you said earlier about women supporting each other. Do you find as you get older that women are better at supporting each other instead of being competitors?
Yeah, so I found two different things. So I found that, um, so I knew what I was getting myself into. That now I am on Instagram and I'm on social media. And social media, there are a group of women and some men too that are just incredibly mean. And they just want to knock you down no matter what you do. They talk about my looks and I'll talk about what I do. And like I'll cook something I do. I like to cook. I like to do recipes online. That's like one of them, like it's joyful for me. I like doing it. And they're like, "Oh, you didn't pull your hair back," or you use the wrong measuring utensil, or they just criticize you for anything. And then the other half, I have people that are just so incredibly nice. And I have people that then defend me from those people. They'll be like, they'll say whatever, like, "Why are you so mean? Get a life," or whatever. So I think it's like 90-10. So 90% are super nice and so supportive, and I'm so appreciative. And I try to like answer every single one of them and say thank you. And then there's the 10% that are just they're going to be like they were, when they were in middle school. And you got to think in middle school, it was probably 90-10 the other direction. You didn't feel supported at all by anybody. You're on your own. So it's, you had your 10% that were your friends and you 90% that, made your life miserable. So it certainly gets better as you get older, but there still are that 10% out there.
Well, I love what you said about on the show, The Bachelor, the Golden Bachelor, that
Yeah.
you support each other as opposed to being, it's like, oh yeah, go out with it. There's plenty of fish.
Yeah, well, you feel that way. You certainly didn't want somebody to pick you because they didn't have the chance to meet everybody else. I kind
Right.
of was like, go, date me last or whatever. Go and, figure out everybody else. But we also were really close because you find out in life as you get older, that this world is kind of made of couples. And when you're single at this age, you're kind of out on an island by yourself and it's kind of lonely. And even though I have a million friends and I have so many, almost all of them are married. So you get excluded from all of the couple activities. So occasionally I have a few couples that would still ask me to go out. And even though I was a third wheel, I didn't care. They were close enough friends. But most people, I'm still friends with the women. I go out with girls, but they go home to their husbands and I would go home to an empty house. So to have a group of women, all of these, like 21 other women that were living in the same house as me and were like my tribe, and they got what it was like to be the odd number at the table at the wedding and to not be invited to any couples vacation. So, everybody's in Aruba together and you're at home. And you introduced all those people and you know all of them, but they just don't think of you. You're not a couple anymore. So to be in that house with all of these other women, and we were strangers when we walked into that house, we immediately bonded because we had this commonality that we lived in this world of couples as singles.
For a woman who's right in the middle of that right now, do you have anything that you would have liked to hear yourself when you were going through that, or anything that you would want to say to her?
Seek out other singles. It's, if you don't have a lot in your life, I did not have hardly any in my life. Most of my friends were happily married. It's like you need a friend that like is similar to you, but still don't shy away from doing the couples thing. So say yes and go to those weddings. Say yes and go to those fundraisers. Still, once again, you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable walking into the wedding by yourself, walking into the fundraiser by yourself, walking into the meeting by yourself, whatever. You have to, acknowledge and accept that you're going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. But, find your tribe. It's hard to find, but you need to find your tribe of other single people. And so you have somebody to go out with when they're, I did have one other friend, and I would plan vacations with her sometimes, like, let's go away, for a long weekend to Miami or whatever and have fun. Because, you shouldn't, like, that whole chunk of fun of vacationing with other people or doing things with couples you get robbed of that. So you have to recreate it in a different way for yourself.
Great advice, really. Um, Talk a little bit more about grandmother
Yeah,
role as a
my
role,
favorite.
and how how does it change your life, and what are the joys and the difficulties of that?
Hmm. So I think that my kids, I weirdly was out to lunch with my two daughters, and they're the mothers of my three grandkids. I also have two sons, but neither one of them are married yet. So my two daughters and my three grandkids, we were all out to lunch, and my daughters were kind of snickering like over on this end of the table. I was feeding one of the grandkids, and they're like, "Mom, you're not the type of grandmother that we thought you were going to be." And I'm like, "What do you mean? They thought we thought you were just going to come over every day and like babysit the kids and help us out and just like be with us all the time. And you are not that at all. You're like out, you have a life." And they were not happy about it. It's not like they were saying it like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great you have a life." They were like, "Yeah, and you have a life." And I was like, "You expected me to be like your grandmother was." So my mom was over at my house every day and, interacted with the kids, helped them do their homework. I was so lucky. And my mother-in-law worked for most of their lives, but when she wasn't working, she was always over there. And I'm very different then, and I didn't know that I was going to be this way, but my life like took this weird turn, and I lost my husband. And I did expect to be like a grandparent, with him, and we were going to take the kids to Disney World, and to have a partner doing this. When you don't have a partner doing it, it's harder. Number one, it's hard for me to babysit three of my grandkids. It's hard for me even to babysit the 5-year-old and the 1-year-old. They're at different, stages, and it's hard. So I don't love to do it, to be honest, and I feel really guilty about that, and I feel like I'm not being a proper grandmother. I see them all the time. I two of them live with me, with my daughter and my son-in-law, and then I have, my other daughter lives 20 minutes down the road with her husband, and I see Hartley all the time, probably see her 3 times a week, but I'm not the grandmother they expected me to be, and I felt, and I still do, I feel a little guilty about it, but I also look at my life, and I feel like I have, hopefully 30 years left. And I decided I didn't want to do it alone, that I wanted to find my person, that I thought I had a second chance at love and a second life possibly to live. And, that is hard to work being the kind of grandmother they want me to be into that life also. Because I need to make time to see Chalk, and I need to make time to do all these other great things that I get offers to do. And I don't want to say no to them. When I get asked by Randy Rom, who is the dress designer for the Golden Bachelor, like most of the or for actually all of Bachelor, and she asked me to come and be part of a podcast at her new pop-up studio. I'm like, I say yes. I go to everything. I got to go to LA this week. I've got to do really, really fun things. And fitting in being a grandmother that they expected me to be is like not part of the plan apparently. And I didn't know that until it happened, but it's just different.
That's a really great insight, and I think can help everyone understand that we as older women in this moment in time actually have options and opportunities and health that were never available to our mothers and grandmothers. So
Hmm.
it does change the role. I think it's a super important point that you're bringing up. And there's more time later as you're
Yeah.
settling in with your blended family and all of that. I mean, which is you can speak to in a minute, but which it's difficult, and wonderful at the same time. But sounds like everybody has expectations of a role that need to be readjusted or adjusted.
And I feel like we're the trailblazers of that. Like my mom was a doting grandmother, and I am not. I'm a grandmother. I just make cookies with my grandkids. I went to a hyper kid zone yesterday with them. They're on spring break right now, so I have them a lot. But I mean, it's very different. I don't feel like I'm the grandmother that my mom was, and I feel like most of my friends aren't either. So I love that. Like that we're kind of the trailblazers, but it's kind of not like not everybody's loving us for this. It's not what they wanted for us. They wanted us to be there babysitting their kids, and we're not dying to do it.
Well, that's part of when you're creating a new role for yourself and getting out of your own comfort zone. There are people who love you so much, but they don't really want you to go there, you know.
I want you
And
to do that. You were very right.
it's an adjustment. Look, Amanda and I work together. I'm a grandmother. I've been a career person. I understand these issues really well, and
Mhm.
she does. And we're just forging this new way forward. Luckily for us, we have a business that we both love and are
Yeah.
passionate about. That helps. But you know, it is for everyone. It's different.
I think that a lot of women in our community might feel like they want to do things for themselves, but have that sense of guilt,
Hmm.
like that guilt because they have this view, maybe from their mothers or some of their friends, what it means to be a grandmother.
Yeah.
And I think even making the time to just work out.
As you get older, the next generation is kind of moving in, and we're supposed to be taking a back seat. We're supposed to
Yeah.
be like, not being like our careers are not as important anymore. Our free time isn't as valuable anymore. You guys are raising kids and buying homes and, progressing in your careers and you're busy, and we should be taking a back seat and supporting you, being a support role, but we're not there. Because we are still in our careers and we are still doing exciting things and we're traveling and we have our health and we guess what? We get technology and we are okay. We're not ready to take that back seat yet. And I think that back seat is empty right now. And your generation is the one that's suffering from it.
Well, but I think that's exactly but like what we're trying to do at Movement Living is say, this is a new way of aging as a woman.
Hmm.
And that is such a great way of putting it. Like, you're not in the back seat. You're still in the front seat. You're in the driver's seat. Like, what do
Yeah.
you want these next 3 decades to look like?
Yeah. You're very right. And it's hard for like, we accept it, we get it. You guys don't yet. So so nice that like I said, I told you about my daughters. They're like, what's going on with you? You're not like what we wanted you to be. I'm like, sorry, I'm not.
Well, on the topic of it being difficult to care for two little kids, and believe me, I feel the same way. It is so exhausting. I
Yeah,
love them so much.
me
So
too. I feel the same way. Yeah.
well, so we pursued this idea in our newsletter. We talked about grandmothers helpers, just ways that women can have that ability to interact with their grandkids, but without just being so exhausted, where you can actually hire some help to kind of pick up after yourselves while you're doing this. What do you,
Yeah.
what do you
I
think of that?
I love that idea. Okay, so I'm struggling with this idea. My oldest son is getting married and they're doing a couples bachelor and bachelorette party. And so my all my kids are going. So both my daughters and their husbands and both my sons and one's fiance, one is a girlfriend. So they're all going. So like my whole family is going and they want to leave me with the three grandkids. And they're going for like 4 days. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I look at me, you're like, okay, she's fit and everything. They are exhausting. I have one that's 18 months, one that's 16 months, and a 5-year-old. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get them all to sleep at the same time and how I'm going to do this. And they're asking me, Mom, are you going to babysit? Are you going to babysit? And I'm like, I want to say yes, but I'm really nervous about doing it.
You need a grandmother's helper.
I
It's
need that
like,
person. Where do I find them? Yep.
and
Yeah.
so I have to have someone that's supporting me. And we kind of realized, like, when my mom has the kids, she needs that too.
I agree. I like, how am I going to get all to sleep at the same time?
You need help. You need help.
Fine with my own 4 kids. I don't know how I'm going to do these ones because you know
How did you
I'm
do
like
it?
the fun one, and they don't listen to me. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
find me all
That's
over
right.
me. And
Right.
yeah,
You know, but here's another thing. This generation, our kids, our 30-year-old
yep,
daughters, they're different kinds of moms. They have a very specific way of doing things, which I think my mother was a lot more random and haphazard. I think I was
yeah,
too. And so they have a lot more, which is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just
yeah.
saying I just don't know it. And so I think just back to you and what's coming up, somehow you need some support.
I
I
love
encourage
that. I
you.
didn't know. I'm glad somebody else recognizes. I thought I was inadequate. I'm like, why can't I take care of these little kids?
No,
They're just little human beings. I should be able to do this. It's so hard.
so hard.
Yeah,
It's
and that's exactly what we've been talking about is like it's so hard to accept that you need or even just want help. And
Yeah,
why is that? Like, why? And again, it goes back to that mindset of like, oh, grandmothers. Of course, a grandmother can take care of 3 kids.
yeah,
She raised 4 kids. Of course she can. But
right.
it doesn't mean that she needs to. Like, she deserves to have support so that it's something that actually is a joyful experience. It's not stressful. It's not draining on the body.
Mhm.
You're still able to have time to yourself. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about this because I feel like it's a missing link for grandmothers to be able to say yes to something like that. It's
Yeah,
exactly
I would feel so much more comfortable with
yeah.
this notion of taking care of the kids for those 4 days if I had some support. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to get Boomer from school with the other 2 kids in car seats. My car isn't even big enough. Like, I don't know
yeah,
how
Yeah.
to do, like, there's certain things I just don't know how I'm going to figure out how to do it.
yeah.
The car seat thing. Oh my
I'm going to have
God.
3 car seats. I'm like, I can't fit 3 car seats in my car.
5 points of contact. It is difficult, but it
And
just,
getting those darn car seats all in there, they're so hard.
well, look, we have some tips about how to find someone.
I feel bad saying no, so I'm like, yeah,
I
I
know
can do it. I'm not positive yet.
it's much harder to take heat from our kids than from
Mhm.
anyone else in the
Yeah, yeah,
world.
I can say no
So,
to most people. My kid's like, "You can't? Like, what are we supposed to do then?" I was like, "I don't
yeah.
know."
Okay, well now you know.
Yeah.
Can I just rewind really quickly? You mentioned that your mom grew up in an orphanage.
She had a mother who was alive. Her father was not alive, died before she was born. And her mother had tuberculosis, which was like kind of common in those days. And when you had tuberculosis, you had to go live in a sanatorium. So she had no living relatives. She had no grandparents. She had nothing. Her
Wow.
mother was an only child. She was an only child. There were no living relatives. So she grew up actually for 8 years of her life in an orphanage. And then after that, her mother was still really sickly, even though she was out of the sanatorium. And she grew up in foster homes after that. But my dad grew up in Holland during World War II. So both my parents had really kind of tough upbringings, but they came together and they both were educated. My mom was a nurse, and my dad was an electrical engineer. He immigrated here from Holland, right? He was in Holland for World War II. And they just made this amazing life for myself and my brother. They were like the most doting parents. They didn't get married until they were both 30, which was late in those days. And they worked really, really hard. And we came home every day, and then we did homework with them. They made sure that we were educated. They made sure that, we had our one beach vacation a year. And then every few years we would go to Europe and visit my aunts who lived there. And we would get to go to one other country every few years. So I got, lucky, and I got to go to Europe when I was growing up. We didn't go like in first class. We were in the back of the plane, and we stayed in my grandparents' house, but I got to travel when I was younger.
And I'm sure that shaped you, to become who you are today,
Yeah,
obviously.
when you feel safe and
Yes.
you always have a soft landing, it gives you the courage to do things that are maybe scarier.
Obviously, you and Chalk are bringing a lot of relationship experience to the
Mhm.
table. And I'm really interested to know if there are any non-negotiables that you guys both have, or just your experience of navigating building something new while both bringing so much experience. And I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
I love that question because we are like figuring it out, to be honest. We didn't I don't think either one of us came in with like a notion of this is, the way it has to be. We were both kind of mushy on it. We're feeling each other out a little bit, but both of us came with the idea that our families were the most important. So he has two kids and he kind of raised them. And I have my four kids and my grandkids and my mom and my mother-in-law. He lost his mom while we were filming. So, that was kind of a recent loss for him. But he still, is a great father, and his father's still alive. In fact, I went to to his hometown. I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma for his birthday. So our families are kind of the most important. They're our priority, and I mean, I think he understands that my kids are probably a little above him, and I get the same thing that his kids, you only get one parent, or you like for both of them, for my kids, they only have one, they only have me. So, they are really my priority, and his kids are too. They're a little younger, they're in their 20s, so they need them. And, but we also are really, really, really conscious of making sure we always have a visit on the books, a time that we're gonna spend with each other. And it's usually about every 2 weeks. We're really, really good about that, about comparing our calendars, making sure we have flights. We're either meeting in New York or LA, or he's coming here or I'm going there. We went on a vacation together. We went to Cancun. Like, we always have something planned. So we make sure that our relationship doesn't suffer, even though we have kind of other priorities. He still has a company that he owns and is in charge of. I do a lot of stuff now, on my own now that I got from The Bachelor. And, so we have busy lives, but we have to make our relationship a priority. And we're really good about making sure we do that. We never don't have, like, I have my next 3 flights. He has his next 3 flights figured out, where we're meeting or what we're doing. Like, we're kind of planned almost through the summer at this point, because we're busy. So we're really, really good about making sure that our relationship is a priority, because it could very easily slide into the back because we're both busy. So, and then he has a thing that he says to me every night before I go to sleep. He says, "Is there anything I can do to make your life easier?" So it's like the nicest thing that somebody can ask you. I don't know, like, I never had that before in my life. I mean, John and I, we had a great marriage, but that is like just such a safety net. Like, if I had something I really needed, he asked me every night what it is.
And back to keeping our boundaries, especially from our children, who, because it's so difficult to do. That's part of what you're doing. This is for me right here, but it's going to benefit everyone. So
Yeah.
don't be so upset about it.
Yeah, that was a whole conversation I had with my kids before I went on the show. Not all of my kids were big fans of me going on the show. And I said, "You guys are young and you don't understand how your lives are going to evolve." I said, "You are going to start right now. I am like center to your life. You come to my house all the time for dinner. You bring your kids there. My kids that aren't married come over like every Saturday and Sunday and watch games. And I do a big Sunday night dinner and I've been doing that for 35 years for my whole family. Every Sunday night I do a dinner at my house." And I said, "But there's going to be a time when your family, so your husband and your kids and your wives and your kids, are going to become more important than me." I said, "And you don't know that's happening, but I do." I said, "So I have to go and make myself a priority, because I'm going to be left behind, and you're going to be saying, 'Who's going to take mom this weekend?' Or who's going to take mom? Who's going to invite her out to dinner? Or who's going to have mom for their vacation?" I go, "I don't want to be a burden on you guys. And you don't know what's going to happen, but I do. So it's a favor that I'm doing a favor to you guys by making a life for myself."
Oh, I love that. And you're going to be strong. You're going to be walking around. You're not going to be mom's in the wheelchair. I
Yeah,
can't
right.
work. Yeah, no,
That's the plan.
so inspiring.
I'd love to wrap up with we call it the Movement Living Five. They're like rapid fire, quick questions.
Okay. All right.
So I'm going to hit you. So the first one is just in a few words, what does wellness mean to you?
I think physical and mental and connections.
Amazing.
Mhm.
What's a daily habit that you swear by to feel your best?
Again, connections. I connect with a friend every day, no matter what.
A health concern that you are most worried about?
Alzheimer's. My dad had it. Losing your mind. He was the smartest man I ever knew. He was an electrical engineer. He worked for NASA. He worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. And when his mind went, I could see how upsetting it was to him. And I don't want to be a burden on my kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your favorite way to treat yourself?
I love being with my family or with my friends, so I love cooking. So I like having people over for dinner.
and something that you are learning right now.
So this is going to sound really weird, but I get all these opportunities from brands to do endorsements. So, and I'm really careful about the ones I do. I make sure that I like the brand and I try them and I make sure they work. But getting on Instagram and filming myself doing these endorsements is so foreign. It feels so weird. It takes me forever to get one done. And you have to write your own scripts and stuff, and then it goes to the brand for approval. But it's just feels so uncomfortable. But I'm learning that.
I love that. I mean, and it just putting yourself out of your comfort
Yeah,
zone.
so out of my comfort zone. And that one is taking a long time to get comfortable doing.
I can so relate to that, and in having to become more public. And I just go, whoa, gee, I should probably post because this is kind of cool. We're growing all this kale, whatever. And I go,
Yeah.
oh, no.
Do I look goofy? I know.
Yeah. No, that's
I know.
great. Thanks.
You
Well,
feel
thanks
so
for
cool
sharing.
doing it.
I feel like it's kind of interesting. I think a lot of women in our community, they're on Instagram. They love to follow people on Instagram, but they feel a bit self-conscious posting things about themselves. And I'm curious if you think your advice would be just post, like it's fun, like, or if I'm just curious what you think about that.
I think just post, because in fact, the ones that you look the stupidest in are the best ones. And
Yeah.
there was a former bachelorette named Caitlin Bristow. I don't know if you remember who she was, but Caitlin just was always unapologetically herself. She would kind of cuss a little bit. She would be funny. She would show herself at the absolute worst. She'd be like, "Look at my hair today. It looks terrible. And like, I can't get my makeup right." And she just looked bad. Or she'd have like a muddy dog in her bed. She's like, "I can't believe the dog jumped in my bed. And look at my sheets now." And like, she just was so not perfect, which made her so perfect. So she's like my favorite person to follow on Instagram. So be stupid and be not perfect, because that's actually way better.
That's very cool. And it ties in with just not being so afraid as you get older, because who cares anymore?
Who cares, right?
Oh, that's great. Helps me.
Where can people find you? Where can we see what's going on in Joan's world?
Instagram, Joan_Vassos. And then I do TikToks. Those are mostly cooking videos. And that's at Joan Vassos.
Well, I love following you and I love your recipes. I think I was looking at there was like a chicken McNugget one the other day and I was like, my kids are going to love this. I need to make it.
It was so good. My daughter found it for me. I'm like, we have got to try these. They are so good. Add a little bit more of the powdered sugar than what I put in the recipe, by the way.
Okay, good note.
Still adjusting.
A little adjustment, because it's the recipe for the what is it called? What is the brand?
Chick-fil-A, right?
Chick-fil-A. And you know how they're kind of sweet?
Yeah,
that recipe have quite enough sugar, so put a little bit more.
It's the secret to everything.
Yep.
A little bit more sugar.
Didn't have quite enough.
Well, thank you so much, Joan. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with? Any words of wisdom? You've shared a lot of wisdom already.
Thank you.
But if there's anything else that you wanted to say, we'd love to hear it.
Gosh, I think like the most important thing is just like, do something fun every day.
Ooh.
Connections, or go on a walk, or get that milkshake from McDonald's, that strawberry milkshake that you keep denying yourself. Just do something that makes you happy every day.
Love that.
Brilliant.
Okay.
It's been a blast.
It was so fun talking. I feel like we're friends.
Yeah, yes. We are. No,
we're going to send you the article about the helper.
Good to meet you.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Joan. And thank you, Marina, as well.
Thank you for wanting to talk to me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.